Hey guys, it's Landon here with Three Sides of the Cube. Today we're going to be talking about Tyranids, my favorite faction in Warhammer 40k. I've always been a huge fan of them, love them. Today specifically though, we're going to be talking about the new data slate that we just received in January 2023 and how it affects our favorite faction, Tyranids. And a lot of changes happened. Most of these changes were point changes for different armies. There were a few different rule changes that affected the game. And we're going to be talking about that today. First thing that kind of affects everybody is now aircraft has to start in reserve. This is troublesome in some cases because now you have to pay those reserve points to put those units in reserve. This affects Tyranids in a little bit because Harpies were being played a lot. But now with that extra CP to have to put those, I don't know if they're going to be taken anymore. It's going to affect them a little bit. And then some of the other things that happen for us, the overrun stratagem that Tyranids have access to. So this one was used quite a bit. We use it to do two things primarily. So when we have our smashy hive tyrant or a really good monster that we're running around with, we can charge forward, kill something, and then we would use that stratagem to get on an objective, or we could use it to get out of line of sight to not be shot at, which was actually what it was used. I used it a lot for that reason. Now it can only affect core units. So we can still use it, but we can't really use that combo anymore with our monsters. So anyway, we need to be aware of that. And then spore mines. Spore mines were starting to be used a lot in the meta. People were flooding the board with them. With Sporocysts, with Harpies once again, and with Biovores. But now, no one really wants to spend 60 or 80 points to, use these spore mines. I just don't think that play is going to be happening anymore. And yeah, and then the rest of the changes that really affect us are going to be points changes. So we're going to go over each individual unit that did have a change and talk about it a little bit. So the first one is going to be the Neurothrope. So our Neurothrope, right here, this beautiful little guy, still one of the best HQs for Tyranids. It got a 10-point increase, which, isn't great, but nothing that is going to prevent us from still taking this HQ. It's still really good. It still does a lot of stuff for us. It gives us a really good synaptic imperative. That's why most people take it. But also just really good or all-around HQ choice. 110 points now. The next thing is going to be Old One Eye. Man, I love this model. Old One Eye is one of my favorites, but he got up to 250 points now. I don't know why. Why? Old One Eye. I would love to see him played in the meta, but he's just not already being played. And now with him costing even more points, we're not going to see him, unfortunately. The Turvagon, I was doing a few list building with this one, and it went up in points as well, up by 20 points. It's to 235 now. I'm not sure if she'll still see play or not. I don't think it's too big of a change, but we'll just have to kind of see how that one goes. The Winged Hive Tyrant, so this guy right here. This is a model that was being played a lot because it has fast movement. You can kit it out with some really good relics. It was really good, like I said, with that overrun stratagem that we could run forward, kill something. But unfortunately, it's getting increased too, also to 230 points, 20-point increase. So I personally think now walking Hive Tyrants are going to be what's played the most. We're going to have these big Hive Tyrants with the Venom Cannons that are just kind of sitting in the back of your army shooting. There's not going to be a lot of interaction, probably, and if someone does get close, you can potentially charge them. But I think walking Hive Tyrants are the things that we're going to see now. Tyranid Warriors. Big blocks of Tyranid Warriors are pretty popular for the Tyranid army right now in the 9th Codex. They didn't get a points increase on their models themselves, but some of their weapons got increased. So the Barbed Strangler, the Bone Sword, the Death Spitter, and dual Bone Swords. Each of those got increased, so those big blocks that we like to take, those are going to be a little bit more expensive now. I don't think that that's going to like negate them from not being taken, but they're probably just going to be more smaller units now instead of those big blocks. The Tyrant Guard, these are small infantry units that we use to give the bodyguard rule for our Hive Tyrants. They were using them once again for the Winged Hive Tyrants. They got a points increase to 45 points per model now. It's pretty expensive. We'll just kind of got to see how that one goes as well. The two units that affected me most in my list building were Venomthropes and Zoanthropes. So when you buy the Venomthrope kit, you can build it out into the two options. Zoanthropes are our heavy psychers, great units, and the Venomthropes are our really fast, multiple attacks units, both really, really good. Venomthropes got a 5-point increase, so they are now 40 points per model. But the real killer for me was the Zoanthropes. I am preparing a list for LVO right now, and I have a lot of Zoanthropes in that list, and they got a 20-point increase per model. Just huge. So they're still really, really good. I don't think they're going to disappear because they still have a high toughness. They've got really good invuln, and they just do so many mortal wounds in the game. And right now, mortal wounds are so important with all of the armor and things that we have to get through. Mortal wounds are just super important. So they are more expensive, but I think we're going to see less of them now. Raveners. Raveners are super popular. We got those Kraken lists in the meta right now where they're charging forward really fast, lots of attacks, really good units, but unfortunately those guys also got a points increase. They're up to 45 points per model now. That's a 10-point increase. So I still think we'll see a few of those guys just to kind of run up and grab objectives because they're so quick, but I don't think we're going to see giant swaths of them anymore. Maybe just in those Kraken lists a little bit. And then the Trigon. This is another one. I don't know why it got a point increase. I keep knocking all my models over. But anyway, Trigons, they weren't seeing a lot of play. They're not super competitive right now. So I'm not sure why they got a 10-point increase. But I think GW is trying to encourage more of those swarm or horde army lists for Tyranids and to kind of step away from more of those monster Crusher Stampede style lists. And I think that overall could make kind of a more balanced play. But some of these models, like I said, they are not seeing play. I don't know why they need increases. And then the last thing, actually there's two more. So Carnifexes, the regular Carnifexes, those got upgraded a little bit. And then our Hive Guard as well. Those are our shooty guys that were really popular in 8th edition, but not played so much in 9th edition. Tyrannifexes, these are pretty popular. I've been seeing more and more of these guys on the table because they have a good toughness. They've got some good shooting. I really like the acid spray loadout myself. Those auto hits are really nice. And then the last model on the list was the Harpy. The Harpy itself also got a points increase. So not only it being in reserve is going to cost us CP, but it has a points increase of 10 points. And the Spore Mines, they're not going to use them anymore on it. So I think Harpies are done for a while. I don't think we're going to see them anymore. And then the last thing that changed, it wasn't a unit, but it was actually one of our adaptive physiologies. So our secondaries for Tyranids right now are a little hard to achieve, some of them, but there is one of those secondaries for every synapse unit that makes a melee kill, you can score points. And so what I was doing with a few of my lists is I was giving a Carnifex or something that isn't synapse keyword and giving that point upgrade. And I did notice that that was the only one that got affected, and it got increased by 5 points. So it makes that secondary a little bit harder, which unfortunately is harder for us. But we just have to plan for that when we do our lists. And yeah, I'm going to be working on another list kind of make with these changes for LVO. So I want to keep you guys updated. If you guys have any list ideas, or if you yourself are preparing for a tournament and would like to comment on your list or share it with us, we'd love to look at it and comment with you guys. But I really appreciate it, and have fun out there with those Tyranids.